Hi everybody, welcome to Your Own Life. Welcome to Your Own Life. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Steve Rogenbuck, and this is a video about how I recently went off social media for 7 days. Now, I'm somebody who feels that it is their life purpose, mostly, to post on social media, meaning that I share my art through social media. I spread humor and positive energy through social media. There are certain things I value so much on social media, but I'm also somebody who has been overwhelmed by social media so many times in life. I thought it is really necessary for me to at least try 1 week without it. So I've had impulses to quit social media for a very long time, but I haven't even gone one whole day without using social media or using the internet. I always find reasons not to go totally off social media, and so I just try to scale back the amount that I do it. I downloaded at one point an app that counts the amount of minutes that you have your phone activated so that you can have a goal to keep it under a certain amount. I've done things where I put all my social media in a folder and move the folder to the 3rd page of my phone and say, don't go in this unless you know why you're going in it. Like I title the folder something like that. It doesn't work. Within like a few hours or the next couple days, I'm just habitually going to that folder and opening it up, and it's like I always find excuses. And so today I was feeling overwhelmed by social media again and feeling that it's just I'm not getting anything else useful done, but I just keep opening up the same thing and doing the same crap, and it stresses me out. So I decided to finally actually commit to not use social media this week. The only social media that I actually habitually use day to day is Snapchat and Twitter. I waste the most time on Twitter, and so I'm not using Twitter this week. Not even gonna go on Twitter at all. And what will it be like? The last 24 hours has possibly been the only 24-hour period in at least the last 5 years that I have not used social media. I definitely reached for my phone and then realized that I don't have social media to go on and then put it down again. The first thing that really was strange was that I felt like reading poetry out of books. Not having social media to look at, I reached for some poetry books, and that's kind of interesting. Maybe it goes to prove what I've said about Twitter before, that it is like poetry, and that when I didn't have Twitter to look at, I went for actual book poetry. But yeah, I've read about 3 poetry books in the last 24 hours. I feel free a little bit. Free from like the judgment of social media. It's just like this open channel that's sitting there that any minute I could receive bad comments through. I could receive somebody being mean to me or challenging something I'm saying on social media. But since I've decided to not even look at it, it's like kind of like I'm not open to that. I like don't have that vulnerability anymore. It also makes me feel a little bit more rooted where I am, which is not necessarily good because I don't have that many friends here. I don't have that much going on for me in Tucson, Arizona, but it does make me feel more like I'm here and I need to deal with what's here because I don't have everywhere else to be concerned about. This morning, I got up, and instead of using social media, I didn't really know what to do. I was just sitting here, just sitting in bed, and I just sat for quite a bit of it. I just sat there, and I'm trying to decide if that's better or worse than scrolling through social media. I guess it felt a little bit better than using social media in that moment because at least I felt in control of what I was doing. I mean, I was just sitting there, and it's like, okay, I didn't get anything done. It wasn't necessarily amazing, but I was just sitting there by my choice, rather than being, like, lured into this maze of, like, okay, click on this tab, and see what that did, look at this, look at that. And also, I wasn't giving myself any negative inputs, which I feel like a lot of times, social media, the balance is more negative inputs. And in a moment like this morning, where I was just sitting here, not really doing anything, hadn't started my day yet, I feel like the doses of negativity would have sort of probably tipped me into a worse mood, whereas because I didn't have that, I was just sitting there kind of aimless, but I didn't feel bad. I didn't go toward feeling bad necessarily. I was just here, just sitting here. The past couple days, I've been traveling quite heavily. I had one flight, 2 buses, and 1 train ride. That they were all pretty long, about 4 hours each maybe. And then hours sitting in the train station. Traveling is kind of a lot more boring without social media. I ended up listening to audiobooks more and sleeping more. Something that kind of surprises me is that even in the absence of social media, I don't go to email instead. Email does not feel like an alternative to social media to me. Maybe because some of the emails are like longer or they require me to do tasks in order to answer them. It feels more like something that I still want to procrastinate on doing rather than something that I go to as a quick distraction. See, that's the thing. Social media is like this automatic distraction that I go to when I don't know what to do next. That's the thing I've been catching myself doing, usually on my phone, but even on my computer. If I'm doing stuff on my computer, I finish a task, what do I do next? I don't know. I just automatically load up Twitter. And so in the absence of social media, sometimes I find a different distraction, and other times I just sit there and do nothing. I've literally had more time spent this week just sitting there doing nothing than I have in a long time. Without social media, it feels like less happens in life. And maybe that's just because I haven't been seeking out like tons of news sources instead. Like, I received a lot of my news through social media. So without social media, it just feels like less happens in the world. I mean, I definitely see the allure of the non-social media life. It's kind of a calmer life. It's a way to actually reject a lot of the shit that is just being thrown at you. I feel like there are so many demands on our time and our space, and not being on social media or having a very conscious, limited use of it is such a way to put up a wall and just be like, I'm not gonna tolerate all these bullshit demands on my time and my space. So, what are my final thoughts and what am I going to do now? Because I've read a lot of blog posts from people who say, I quit social media for 30 days or a week or a year, and at the end, they almost always say, I'm going back to social media now, but I'm going to use it more deliberately now. And I'm always thinking, I'm a little suspicious, like, the apps are extremely addictive. It's very hard to use them deliberately. I always want to know what are the strategies they're using to use them more deliberately. But that is the challenge. For some of us, it might be right to quit social media altogether, but for many of us, there seems to be a significant value that we get from it or a purpose that we are able to achieve through it. And how do you get that purpose, keep that purpose intact, and nurture that without all the downsides of it, without the passive use and overuse and all that? I think one thing that helps is knowing what you want to get out of it, and I still have to think a little bit more about that specifically, but what I've been doing so far is that I've been checking each social network about once a day, and I've sort of came up with a slogan. It's a pretty good slogan. Don't just check Twitter, check it off. Meaning, when I go on there, I'm going to look at all the incoming tweets and messages. I'm going to reply to everything that I'm going to reply to. I'm going to post anything that I wanted to post. Maybe check out a couple friends' pages or whatever, and then log off. And then check Twitter is done for the day, or done until way later in the day, whenever I set as the next time. And I can do that with Instagram, I can do that with Facebook. With Snapchat, I want to do it a little bit differently because I do like updating my story throughout the day, maybe. The other thing that I noticed for me is that it's a larger pattern, not just social media, but like this thing where I always go to distractions when I don't know what to do next. In those moments when my automatic impulse was to go to social media and then I didn't have social media anymore, a lot of times I would go to YouTube instead, or I would open up a podcast, or I would even reach for a nearby poetry book. Instead of having thought
ahead in advance, what do I want to be doing at that time of day? One solution to this would be to truly schedule out your day in advance, which a lot of people say helps them a lot. I've heard a lot of good things about that. It seems kind of like a lot to do, but it seems probably like the smart thing. But even if I didn't schedule out my day totally, maybe having a better to-do list or something that helps me not go into automatic distractions, just so I can be more conscious about what ends up happening in my day. So those are my thoughts for right now. All that could change. Eat more whole plant foods if you can, and hail Satan if you want to. No pressure.